We're here with Michael Murphy. We appreciate you being on our show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sitting here in California, and it's not very cold, so that's good.
Yeah, well, rub it in, because it's been pretty single digits here, Michael.
Pretty chilly here, so we really appreciate you talking to us. We're anxious to hear about your musical career and some of the things you have done, and also some of the things maybe that you're doing. I know one of the songs, actually, we're playing a song in our Home Grown show by the Inspirations.
That's going back a few years.
And we're playing another song by 13th Precinct.
Yeah.
At the Junkyard.
Yes, it is. Did you write that?
I wrote it with Bruce Jensen, and we were in several different bands together for a while when I first started playing rock.
Did you come from the Sterling Rock Falls area?
That's correct. You have no idea how to think about these things I haven't thought of for so long.
Well, you mentioned the other day when we were talking that it's been kind of your modus operandi that when you finished a project, you kind of put it to bed and went on to the next one and never really went back. So this is going to be a trip down memory lane for you. Right?
Definitely.
Michael, when did you first get interested in music? Like, did you play instruments as a kid?
Yes, we had a stand-up piano. We had a upright, and my brothers and sisters took piano lessons, and I did too. And actually, I took classical piano grade school and high school.
Wow.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
And when I was in kindergarten was half a block from my house. And at Christmas time, we had a little show, and without telling anybody at my house, I learned how to play Jingle Bells, right? And so I went to this thing, and I played Jingle Bells, and I got applause. Oh, my God.
There you go.
It's like, I'm doing this for the rest of my life.
What about your first band?
Well, that was Inspirations.
How'd that come about? Were they buddies of yours or something?
I used to we had a place called The Barn, which was outside of town, and we would go there and dance. It was for teenagers, not adults. And eventually, somebody who went there, Bruce, started talking to me, and we got together and we played. I played keyboards, he played guitar, and then we got a couple other guys, and we started playing as a band.
Wow.
And that's how it started. It's just kind of happened over time, over some months.
And you started actually making money doing that then, right?
A little bit, not much, but yes.
Yeah, all right. And then 13th Precinct was after that band, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And Bruce was in that band also. We just had a couple different guys. Don Dowd was on bass, and Tom Kurtz was on the drums. So those two guys were different, but Bruce and I worked together still at that point.
I am very interested. Of course, when we did that One-Eyed Jacks interview a while back, you were part of that too. You were in the later edition of the One-Eyed Jacks, and I'm really curious how you heard about the Champaign-Urbana scene from Sterling Rock Falls.
Well, Bob Nutt, who was the Blytham guy, he and somebody else came to see me play up where I lived, and I don't know how they heard about me, but he talked to me about maybe you would come and be a singer in this band. And it was like exciting to me to I'm going to go do this. So I took him up on it. The first One-Eyed Jacks band was so great at harmonies and songs that were difficult. And so that was fantastic. That element of that band was really good.
Yeah. Well, they kind of set the bar, didn't they, for the rock and roll scene around Champaign-Urbana?
I think that Bob was a brilliant guy that was a little bit crazy.
Yes, absolutely right. He was like a visionary, almost a Swami kind of guy.
Yeah, and he had so much knowledge that people believed in him, but he was a little bit crazy, and I don't mean that in a horrible way.
Yeah.
I just mean that, a lot of people that are so brilliant have a little bit of a crazy.
That's for sure. Einstein was one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there. So going back to singing, you started out playing keyboards. When did the singing come into the mix?
Into the One-Eyed Jacks?
No, were you singing in Inspirations and 13th Precinct?
Yeah, because I wrote those couple songs with Bruce, and that's when I was first starting to sing.
So was that by you got the short straw or something?
No, I think I really wanted to sing.
Now you keep mentioning Bruce. It's not Bruce Hall. That's later. That Bruce, but this Bruce was someone that grew up in Sterling, Rock Falls area.
Yeah, he lived in Rock Falls. Bruce Jensen. He has passed away, but he played for many years, and we traveled all around the Midwest playing music. And that first band, we had a set of twins, the Newell brothers. One was on bass and one was on guitar. And what they used to do, this is crazy, but every year they would go to a car place and stick their guitar and bass in one of the places where they paint them, and they would come back into the gigs that year with a different colored instrument. It's kind of weird. But that's what all that easy, simple stuff was so exciting.
Michael, I remember specifically, this is an image burned in my head. You really made quite a name for yourself around this scene, and I just remember thinking, man, you are a rock star. Because we were at a teen club somewhere, and it was a church, actually, on the corner of Springfield and Prospect, and you were doing Season of the Witch. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
And there was like...
I do.
There was... she sang the heck out of it, too. But my gosh, it was in like a church community room or something, and there were nothing but black lights. And here's this guy with this long, curly, red hair, mane kind of thing, singing this song, and I went, "My gosh, this guy's cool." And that was like the last song of the night. And you got off the keyboard and walked down the aisle and out the building. It was like Elvis has left the building. It was amazing, man. It was amazing. And you must have only been, I don't know, 24, 23 back then. How old were you when you joined the Jacks?
I was probably 19 or 20.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I wish I remembered being that cool.
You were always cool, man, no doubt.
Say, Michael, do you have any special recollections about the Champaign Urbana music scene?
That's a good question.
I do. You know, I thought that all the bands, a lot of them were not my style, but they were all good. And back in those days, we hung out together, even if we didn't play in the same band. And that, for me, was a really cool thing that doesn't exist now. Everything is so different that you hang out with the people that play the kind of music that you do and whatever.
Yeah, there was a camaraderie of some sort there, you know. So now you're in the One-Eyed Jacks, and then, was it Silver Bullet Band after that?
Yes, it was.
And that's the first time you were in a band with Bruce Hall, right? No, Bruce was in the Jacks for a while, wasn't he?
Yes.
So you guys kind of hit it off right away.
He was very young when I first started playing with him, but always I could see his talent. When I was in high school, I was playing, I'm a Catholic, or was a Catholic, and I went to school, and there were a lot of nuns there, right?
Yeah.
So I played, I'm trying to think of the name of the place I played in Rock Falls when I was in high school. And so I got called into the principal's office, and she was like, "I heard that you were playing in a bar." You know, she was like, "Oh, boy, I'm in trouble now." I said, "I'm not drinking. I'm a musician. That's what I do." And she goes, "Okay, well, be careful and don't drink."
That's good advice.
And I never heard a nun be that nice to me ever.
All right, so when did you meet Irving? Was it after Bob came up there and Irving was working for Bob or something?
I met him, yes. He was a booking agent at that point.
I see.
Instead of a manager.
Hey,
and that's how he got the job of helping me buy a car.
Yeah, tell us that story.
I wanted this car, and it was a Le Mans,
Pontiac Le Mans.
And I really wanted it, so I took Irving. Somebody said, "Why don't you take Irving? He'll help you get a good price." So I go in there, and we make this deal, except the floor things.
The floor mats?
The guy doesn't want to give. Yes, he doesn't want to give us those, and they say Pontiac, I think, on them or something like that. And so I go, "I don't need those, Irving. Let's not get those. We got the deal. Let's go." And he goes, "No, we want those. We want those." And I go, "I don't want them." And he goes, "We're going." He walks out the door, and I'm chasing him down the street. "Irving, I want that car. I don't care about those things." And he goes, "Just believe what I'm saying here," and something like that. Mm-hmm. And we walk, and we get about a half of a block away. Yeah. And the guy calls us back, come on back. We got those too. But I didn't even want them. But that's pretty much what Irving does.
Yeah, he could drive a bargain, couldn't he? And he always protected the bands. That was one thing about him that was really pretty cool. Still is. You know, we did, it's been 52 years now, Dave. It was 1970. We did Kickapoo, Incident at Kickapoo Creek. Mm-hmm. And we actually showed we showed the movie, Michael, at the Virginia Theater. It was awesome. There were like 700 and some people there for that. We had the guy that made the movie and all that. But Irving was featured prominently in that. And you played that, didn't you? Kickapoo Creek?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Was that with the Jacks then, or who was it?
Yes.
An amazing event.
Oh, yeah. I sometimes think we were part of things that will never happen again, and they were really, really cool.
Well, there's a lot more outside influences now for your entertainment, and you're kind of distracting in a way that there's so much to do. But music was king then, and that was fine with me and fine with you, I'm sure. You know,
yes.
You probably played Chances Are a lot with the Jacks, and then you did the Red Lion, of course, too. Those were two really cool clubs, weren't they?
I loved them both. I really did. I loved the setup inside of Chances Are, where I think there were two different layers of
the
things
stage
up above the floor. Yeah, above the stage. No.
Oh.
Where the audience was.
Yeah.
Weren't there two different things? Like
balcony. Yeah.
And then one above that, too?
That's right.
Wasn't there two balconies, maybe? That's what I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was really cool. And the three brothers that ran that place were crazy. I'm trying to think of their names.
Well, Bub Bartholow was the general manager, but I don't know the brothers in that. The stage was kind of cool, too, tucked away in a corner when the drums were up above the rest of the stage. But Red Lion, that place holds a fond spot in many people's hearts.
Oh, and mine, too. Mine, too.
Before I forget this, I'm wanting to ask you about Terry, your brother. How's he doing?
Terry is he's still playing. He has recorded some jazzy type stuff. He has really nice grand piano. He taught, if you could believe it, he taught math for a while. And just maybe a year ago, he stopped doing that. He basically taught students that had trouble, and he would get them one-on-one to learn math because they were slow learners or something. And he went through that. I don't know I would have never done that. I don't have the patience. But, he did it, and that's good.
That's very cool.
I have one question to you. You played in a band with Chris Martin.
That's right. It was called Ginger.
The reason I brought that up was that my wife's best friend is Jody, who used to be a girlfriend of
No
Chris.
kidding.
And she ultimately was married for a while to Joe Wall.
Yeah.
At some point, I played a couple of tours with Joe. We can talk about that after a while, but I actually even have a song on one of his records.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool, Michael. Tell me now, didn't something happen to you, Michael? Didn't it? You were involved in a bike accident or something?
Yes, I live in Sherman Oaks, and just a half a mile from my house, I was on my way to this coffee shop where I was going to talk to some friends and drink coffee. And I took a left, and somebody I'm not sure exactly why they weren't paying attention, but they hit me, and then they ran. They left.
Wow, man.
And somebody called 911. I don't know if it was that person, but they found me, and the only thing I could remember was my wife's phone number, and she was back in Illinois. That's when I started fading into this. I was out for 5 weeks.
Wow, like a coma or something?
Yes, I was in a coma. And after the coma was passing, they kept me in a coma so that my brain could stay cool enough not to swell out. It was a crazy thing. And a couple of my friends, musicians that came to see me, now that I've talked to them, they said, you didn't look like you were going to make it back.
Wow. How about
Which is crazy. But what it did, though, is make me appreciate, now that I'm back, I feel lucky.
I'm sure.
And I appreciate everything. I love music more. I don't think I'm a better keyboard player, but I think I have better taste.
How about that?
It's just different. I don't know if that's true. That's what I think. I don't have better chops or anything.
Very thankful for your recovery.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that with us too, Michael. That's a personal thing. I appreciate that. I know there's a lot of people that listen that would be interested in that. So thankful you're back with us.
We all can make it back.
Let's get to the REO years. We know Terry Luttrell left to join Starcastle. So why don't you pick up the story from there? Like, obviously they needed a new singer. Was there auditions, and how did you get the job?
No, I lived in a building with Kevin, same building, on State Street, and
yeah, Kevin did the second album, and then you were on for the third album. I know Kevin left. Differences there with him and Gary. And then was that because of the whole Bob Nutt, Irving Azoff putting you guys together or something?
I think that had to do with it. I think that they wanted to replace Kevin at that time, and so he had sung all the songs on the record. I'm kind of feeling weird about saying this because I don't want to put him down. We were waiting for this recording, the same recording, and we would come out to the mailbox, and it would be like, come on, you guys got to tell them what's going on.
Oh, wow.
It took them a while to do this. Anyway, so then we had some problems after 3 years, I think it was, that I was with them. So I left, and Kevin came back, and now he's running the show.
Well, my understanding...
and that's good. I'm glad that that's still going on.
Well, yeah, you were... What, did you do 6 albums or something with REO?
No, I did 3.
3. Okay. Kevin was more of a folk singer at that point, and never really had done the screaming into a microphone trying to hear his voice through the monitors. And from what I understand, he kind of just blew his voice out. And you, of course, have been screaming into microphones for quite a while at that point. It's one thing to turn up the volume on an amplifier. It's another thing to turn up the voice. It's hard to do.
But I'm just glad that he was able to come back and take over and wanted to do it, all that. I think that's good.
So you spent 3 years with REO, and those were growing years for sure. That was Riding the Storm Out. By the way, that was kind of whoever did the take Kevin off the front of the album and put you in it. That was a work of art for photoshopping when there wasn't such a thing. That was pretty cool.
My left hand, I think it is hanging out that it's not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. If you look close at it.
I gotta start looking at that.
How does he do that with his hand?
Right, exactly. How can he keep his balance?
One of the songs we're going to play with REO was Without Expression, that Terry Reid song. You sang the heck out of that. That was a really nice recording. I saw you guys did that live on some TV show somewhere, too, and it was nice.
You know what? I met that guy.
Terry Reid?
Yeah, after I was out of the band, and I was going to this thing to do, musicians were going there to jam, and he had been jamming there. I wanted to see who was playing there, and they asked me to play. I actually started talking to him, and he had heard my version, and he liked my version, too.
Wow.
I thought his version was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, who brought the song to the table, so to speak, to record? Was that you, or did Gary like it, too?
Not me, but I don't remember who liked it, but, it didn't seem like our style at first. Once we started playing it, I thought it was really cool.
REO played a mile a minute in the early days, right? I've gotten to know Steve Scorfina pretty well over the years too, and he talked about those days. It was fast. They were fast. But
Gary, his style was he could really rip off the licks, and that's what he did well.
We've got one song we found of yours. I think Dave found this. It was called "The Roller Coaster." Give Me a Ride, and that one smokes.
Oh, thanks. Sometimes, especially just recently when I listen to these songs again, I'm not sure that my style quite fit their style, but what they did on my songs was really cool. And Gary played some of the most tasty stuff on my stuff. I thought it was really good.
That's neat to hear you say that. Let's see, what else? Oh, Lost in a Dream. We talked about this briefly once before. That was a song co-written by you and Bruce Hall.
Right.
And I think you actually gave him more credit towards that song than a 50-50 partnership, which is a nice thing to say. But that's a really good song, too.
Yeah, and he wrote most of it, so it was only fair.
You mentioned something else. I think you said that you actually wrote a song with Neil Dowdy also. Is that right?
Yes, You Can Fly.
Remember what album that was on?
No, I know we recorded it, and I don't even remember if it made it to a record. Thought it did, but...
It's what do you think about Neil retiring? You knew him pretty intimately there for 3 years.
Well, I think Neil is a really cool guy. He has a great sense of humor, and I just think he's been doing this for a really long time. He's probably tired.
Yeah, 55 years, I think he said, of touring on the bus.
Traveling wears you out, aside from all the other stuff in performing that wears you out. I think.
Yeah, it's been said, you play for free and you get paid for traveling, right?
Yep.
I was just gonna say, just give you a chance to, if you have any special recollections about the REO years, any tours, any special stories about songs or anything you remember from that time.
I would say that I joined that band because deep inside I'm a rocker. I love a lot of different kinds of music, and they were rocking, and so I wanted to get into that. And I thought that was really cool. And some of the gigs, we did a gig, trying to remember, at a racetrack, and it was for 120,000 people.
Wow.
And the energy, it was outside, but energy in a place like that is like, as the singer, I couldn't walk to the edge of the stage because it made me want to dive out. It was like, stay back.
Body surfing.
Yeah, or something. It felt like it was pulling me out there, so I had to stay back. But I'm saying that in a positive way because what energy! The energy was fantastic. Yeah, there was some gigs like that were really cool. I remember, I was just quickly, the first gig I played was at a lake in Indiana, and I can't remember the name. When we started doing the sound check and everything was plugged in, we had been rehearsing in a smaller place, and I was thinking, I don't know if I can do this. It's so loud. It was so loud, but I got used to it,
So when you left REO, you hooked up with Billy Vera and the Beaters, of all things, and you were playing keyboards in that band, right?
Yes.
Did you move to L.A. when you were playing with REO?
Yes, I did.
And then Billy Vera, what's the name of the song?
At This Moment.
At This Moment. Great song. Great song.
Number 1 2 weeks. I think it was 88. I'm not sure about that. 87, 88.
Do you still occasionally play with him or something?
Yeah. We played the day before New Year's at a place in Studio City. And they do a streaming thing, but they stopped doing it because they had to deal with the guy that only produced the shows, and it's a restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant, but they have a big show thing upstairs. So we did that right before New Year's Day.
Yeah, I think that band has been together for quite a while, 40 years or so.
Oh, yes, and every once in a while we make a little money there's a show called King of Queens. We played the theme song for that show, and I think it might have been because of COVID or something that they started running that show a bunch of times on TV everywhere. And you know what happened? Yeah, exactly. You know what happens then? We played about 30 seconds. That's all we played when we did this years ago when that show was starting.
Did you ever do a solo album?
No.
I was talking, we've been able to exchange some tracks with a gentleman over at Illinois State University. His name's Chris Young, and he's not on the air now, but he did a show called Downstate Sounds that went through Illinois Wesleyan, and he was talking to me about what he called the Lost Mike Murphy solo album.
Oh, my God.
And I said, well, if I ever talk to you, I'd ask about that.
Is there such a thing?
Tell him to tell me about it. The word legend is tough.
Yeah, my friend, you are a living legend in Champaign-Urbana for sure.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's an honor to have you on our show, too.
It really is, really is.
Well, thank you.
We're trying to document as best we can this incredible thing that happened from like 1965 to now in this town. Like I said, we got 950 songs. That's a good start. There was so much that happened, and
oh yeah,
and you're right. I don't think it'll ever happen again like that,
So, Michael, what are you doing now?
Well,
enjoying retired life?
Not exactly. Since after the stuff we haven't talked about yet, I'd like to mention is that I did a tour with Fields and Crofts, and I played with Johnny Rivers a little bit, and I've also played with Pete Anderson, who was the guitar player and producer for Dwight Yoakam, big hit.
Yeah, good
We've
stuff,
been friends for many years, and so I've done some of that. I'm not sure if I'm doing it anymore, but a friend of mine who's a country player, and I always told myself, don't ever play country. But I am, and I actually enjoyed it because they give honor to the real classic country instead of the new stuff, which is more like rock now.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I think. And I'm not trying to put it down, but it's just like, so this band, it's Rob Staley is his name, and I just played all the piano on his record from home because of the virus.
Yeah.
I've never done that before, and that was really fun to do because he would say, I want you to do this on this record. On this song, and I would go, I'd play it and I'd send it to him, and he'd go, yeah, but do this. And so I would do a little and change it a little bit. It was just an interesting way to record instead of doing it live. I don't think I'd want to do that always. Only it was fun.
Well, yeah, you can trade files all around the world now, right? And actually, I've heard you can actually play live from different locations all around the world now. But it's a whole new ball game.
Zoom does that, kind of.
Yeah.
Program Zoom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Michael, I really appreciate your time. I know Dave does too. By the way,
very much so.
But I want to tell you about one more thing, if we have to.
Sure, please do.
I've played about the same amount of time with Billy and a friend of mine who has now passed away, but his name is Chucky Weiss. Have you ever heard that name?
I do, but from where? I don't remember.
Okay, you know the song "Chucky's in Love"?
Yeah, yeah.
It was written about him many years ago.
Ricky Leaf Jones. She's the one that sang that. Yeah.
Yes, and her and Chuck and Tom Waits lived in this hotel, and they were pillheads. And eventually I met him, and we started having a band together. And Chucky is one of the most interesting guys that I've ever played with. He and Johnny Depp became our friend.
Really?
And
wow.
He got us on Jimmy Kimmel.
Really?
Yes, they wanted him on that show, and he said, and we were on his record company too, actually. He said, I'll come on the show if you hire Chucky Weiss as the musical guest. And the name of our band was Chucky Weiss and the Damn Liars.
So you had to go, Chucky Weiss and the bleep, bleep, bleep liars.
No, he didn't say that. He would just say Chucky Weiss on the TV. But there's a story to that. But anyway, Chuck passed away last year.
Bummer.
And, when he was ill, Johnny took care of him and made sure that he got to his things that he had to take medicine for. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is that Johnny Depp is a good guy. I don't know what the impression of people are about him. Great guy.
Well,
and a good guitar player.
Yeah, not bad, right? He's
Well, you know what he did at the show? We did this song, and Johnny got up and played a one-note solo. I mean, it was good. It was made for the song, but
one of those Neil Young one-note solos.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what Neil does too.
Anything? We don't want to keep you too long. Anything else you want to add, Michael? Any stories or recollections that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Our guest today has been Michael Murphy. We really appreciate you being on our podcast today.
Well, I'm so glad to be on, and I'm glad I met you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. This is really special. I know a lot of people are going to be very interested in this, and we appreciate your time very much.
It's my pleasure.